Okay, Chair, we're now live, so ready to start when you are.
Thank you very much. Hi everybody, my name's Laura Campbell. I am a local resident and I also work for an organisation that is based in Bellshill but covers the whole of North Lanarkshire. It's my first time chairing the community board meeting, so please be gentle. But just to say, if there's any volunteers to co-chair so that we can rotate, I am more than happy to welcome that. So we'll just get started. Can we have any apologies?
We have the apologies given include Councillor Wedden, Councillor McCluskey, Councillor McCarley, Councillor Campbell, Duncan MacLeod from the Bellshill Community Council, Lucy Lynch from NLC CLD, Irene Gibson from the Orbison Neighbourhood Centre, Elizabeth Taylor from the Bellshill Community Council, Hugh Bream as an individual, Gerald McMahon, Sam Hunter, Joseph Budd, also Councillor Linden and Councillor Stubbs will have to leave early at 7 p.m. due to other work commitments. So we noted this as well.
Okay, thank you. I think we have acknowledged that there is some other local commitments taking place tonight, so we will be conscious of that.
Chair, just
moving on.
Hugh Breen's here, Chair, sorry.
Sorry?
Just to say Hugh Breen's at the meeting.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. So move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Is anybody here that was here the last time that wants to just approve them? We got anybody that's here?
I'll do that, Hugh Breen.
Hugh Breen, thank you. Just in terms of matters arising, there was a bit in it about the Bellshill Gateway, the Green Space project, and I think Alison's got an update on that.
Thanks, Laura. Yes, just in relation to the information that was shared by Claire Menham last time, to let the board know that the design stage for cycling facilities, the play and nature trail areas and the signage is all complete. There was participation and engagement with families round about that. So there was feedback. I think there was a family forum as well as engagement with a range of resident and interest groups. The issue or the area of work that's outstanding, that there's still the opportunity for community members to get involved in and influence, is in relation to the planned art installations. So if anyone's interested in that, they can either contact Claire directly or via one of the community team, and we'll put them in touch with Claire in relation to that.
Brilliant, thank you. The second matter arising was actually regarding the Banniel network meetings, but I don't see Sharon on the call to give us an update on that. Nope. So that's something we'll need to take forward. Does anybody else have any matters arising?
Chair, I've just had an email from Councillor Campbell. I think it's more a point of clarity for the minute rather than a matter arising. It was just that I think we had logged the street wrong, so she had the minute mentions New Edinburgh Road in relation to the Bellshill Hill, which we will give an update on later in the agenda, but just in terms of a point of clarity for the minute mentions New Edinburgh Road. But she has came to me and just said that the issue is actually turning right onto Old Edinburgh Road from Philip Murray Road and Sanderson Avenue due to the vehicles parked. But she's picked this up directly with Gary anyway, but just wanted it noted as a point of clarity.
No problem. Thank you very much. Any other matters arising for the previous minutes? No, this is going to be a quick meeting. Number 4, community matters. Do we have any local community groups that would like to give an update? No. Okay, moving on. Number 5, community champion update. Back to you, Alison. Oh, you're on mute.
Apologies, I was not able to unmute there. So a few things, if you would bear with me just to update on I don't know if you want to take Bellshill Hill update here, Laura, or later on in the agenda.
We can take it later on. It's one of the action points on
Right, okay, that's fine. So just a couple of things then to share with people in relation to activity in the local area. I know that members will be interested in progress in relation to the community hubs. The hub at Orbiston there is currently at the pre-construction stage. So it's anticipated that activity will begin on site in the second quarter of next year, so the second quarter of 23. And obviously that's something that we'll provide further updates on down the line. In relation to development activity, also just to note in terms of new housing supply, that there are 29 homes being built at Community Road. So again, that's something that people may already be aware of, but if not, just to keep folks up to date. In terms of wider activity across the council that might be of interest to the board, there is a programme that's going ahead around labelled Remembering Together COVID. It's a memorial, it's in relation to developing a memorial, and it's planned that work will take place across communities in terms of development of that over the summer and autumn this year. But it's planned that the memorial will be sited in Strathclyde Park. And again, the contact in relation to interest in relation to that is Claire Menham, the same officer who's obviously leading on the gateway work. So again, if people are looking for more information about that, we can get that for folks. In relation to Youth Fora, I suppose just to update that the work is developing well. We've got a new set of MSYPs who are keen and beginning to get involved and engage, and it's really exciting. I think that Lanarkshire will be hosting the first live sitting of the Youth Parliament that's taken place since the pandemic, and that will be happening at Greenfields in Cumbernauld at the beginning of July. Also in relation to young people, just to note that we have had really good uptake in relation to the free bus travel. So across Lanarkshire, more than 14,000 young people have taken up that that's facility to date, which I think is really positive. Other than that, just to note that there are some planned engagement sessions for boards over the coming year, and that's really to create space to consider significant developments across the community planning partnership. But I think that's probably all I would want to say just now, but I'm happy to take any questions or if there are queries from board members about any other area of activity. If I can't answer, I'll certainly take that back and get answers for people.
Thanks very much, Alison. Does anybody have any questions for Alison? No? Okay. I've just noticed that Sharon's joined the call, so is it okay if we just jump back to the matters arising? Sharon, would you be able to give us an update about the Van Ale network meetings?
Sorry, I didn't know that was on the agenda.
It was part of the matters arising for the previous minutes.
Oh, I'm sure I must have missed that. I read them, but I didn't see anything about that. What, in relation to what?
I think you were going to come back to see if dates had been arranged.
The dates for the meetings are already been arranged for the year. I don't know. In fact, do you know what it is? Is it the locality meetings? It must be is it the Van Ale locality meetings?
It just says Van Ale network meetings.
It must be. Aye, it must be the Van Ale locality network meetings. The one they were supposed to start in April, and then because of various bits and pieces with Van Ale staff had to attend training, and we were waiting on dates, so we couldn't firm up a date for the April session, so it gets scrapped. And they're going to start in October, but we don't have a date or anything like that yet.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So we'll just go back to the agenda. So we're now moving on to number 6, which is the local outcome improvement plan updates, the LOIP updates. The papers have been circulated. Kinwa has sent all the papers out for the LOIPs. Is there anybody from any of the subgroups that's here that wants to add any additional information for the poverty and food insecurity group?
Laura, do you mind if I just come in very briefly, just to give a bit of kind of context in terms of where we're taking things in terms of how we're going to be able to report on progress? You'll see that we've started to try and kind of shift the agendas and make the LOIPs more of a focus for the agendas for the community board meetings, and obviously maintaining that focus on communities being able to raise any issues that matter to them on an ongoing basis. But the focus will be around the agenda being much more focused around those LOIP priorities that communities have already set for themselves, and obviously there's a lot of work that'll happen between the meetings in terms of supporting delivery. I think Bellshill's a really good example where there is a lot of progress being made around the LOIP priorities, and you can see, or there is progress being made. You can see that from some of the updates that have gone out. But just very briefly to say that the North Lanarkshire Partnership Strategic Leadership Board on Friday had a meeting with some of the local officers to look at the performance or the progress tracking kind of framework that us officers will be using to make sure that we are kind of held to account in terms of reporting into the community boards, or reporting into internally within the council anyway, committees, etc. So that framework should give us a much clearer kind of mechanism for being able to have a consistent but flexible approach to reporting on progress around the LOIPs. They were launched in October last year, and there's been a lot of kind of preparatory work in terms of getting subgroups together, etc. But as we move forward and start to, from the next kind of cycle of community board meetings, for the council committee meetings and things like that, we should see a much more kind of structured approach that will be flexible for each area, but gives us a kind of framework for being able to report on progress. That was all I wanted to say now. I think probably pass it over to the individual representatives. If you need any information, Laura, in terms of who's leading on each of the priorities or anything, just let us know.
Thank you. I actually sit on the poverty and the mental health one, so I have nothing else to add on those. Is there anybody from the COVID-19 subgroup?
There isn't actually a subgroup. I think we've struggled to get a subgroup for that, so it's just a case of filling in some information that we can fill in for towards the priorities. There was obviously discussions previously to try and sort of start a subgroup, but based on recent discussions and what Leanne's just said there, I think it's probably best just leaving it to see where we go with it. But the thing with the COVID one is that quite a few of the actions within that are cross-cutting right across the other ones. So it's a bit, you're kind of gathering information based on the same kind of stuff. So we'll see how it goes. But I think the only other thing we did sort of kind of decide to, as a sort of operational thing, was to change the name to Community Recovery, because COVID-19 doesn't sound that ideal, and it might put people off attending if they think it's just solely specifically just on COVID-19, which it's no. But I think also the actions are maybe a wee bit outdated as well. I think there's maybe needing some discussions about maybe introducing some new actions. But obviously myself, Kinwa, Francis and Mark meet regularly to discuss all the kind of LOIP actions. So we probably will need to sort of kind of look at that, but we'll see how it goes when we move forward. But they two are not here to update on the poverty and mental health. So that's what I can say on that one.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Sharon. Is there anybody from the digital inclusion subgroup? No.
Kinwa, is that one that you can give an update on? Oh, you're on mute.
Yep.
Sorry, Leanne, could you repeat the question, please? Yeah. Hello, can you hear me, Leanne?
Yeah, Laura was looking for an update on the digital inclusion subgroup, and I was wondering if that was one that you could give an update on.
Digital inclusion is part of the COVID impact.
Right, okay.
So it's Sharon who's facilitating the subgroup. Leanne and Cora.
It's never actually really been a thing, I have to say, in that subgroup. I know that there's a look at a sort of North Lanarkshire wide digital group, and I think, Kinwa, you were kind of feedbacking on that at the start, so I don't know what's happening with that. Sorry.
So that's fine. But as I say, the papers have been sent out, so if there's no additional information for the meeting, that's fair enough. Just in terms of the community safety, Loip, is there any representatives for fire or police that want to add anything in at this point about community safety?
Yeah, I'll go through some of the actions since the last meeting, I think, just to give you a wee update.
Thank you.
Obviously, action 2 is about the address of fires and the wheelie bin fires. Obviously, the last Loip meeting, I think Paul was maybe there as well. There's been a huge reduction on our side, and the Scottish Fire and Rescue also advised the same as well. So we're quite content that we're doing the right things there by getting bin chains out, moving the bins to different areas. So there's definitely been a large decrease in that, unless obviously any of the members can tell us anything different. But the reporting has been reduced remarkably. So I'm quite satisfied with that, and I'll let Paul cover that point as well after that. I'll go over action 3 as well, off-road bikes. Unfortunately, this is something that's ongoing. I can't obviously say that we're in a good place with that at all, but we're making progress with it. We are getting action plans in regards, and just for your information, we took 3 bikes from individuals last week in an action plan. So, and that's going to continue on. We're going to target areas that we do know these off-road bikes are constantly going. It is a difficult one to deal with, but we're on top of it, and we will keep continuing on with that. So that's something we'll keep feeding back into ourselves in regards to that, in regards to the off-road bikes one.
Thank you.
Action 4, again, action 4, we have had a slight increase in some of the crimes reported in regards to sort of the racism and violence around that, but I think that's because we're doing a bit more work. It's a lot of shopkeepers being racially abused, and we're encouraging them to report stuff. So it's actually, it may, on the face of it, seem a negative that there's more crimes being reported, but it's actually a positive in our fact that the shopkeepers and other pupils of the BAME group are actually reporting into us. So I'm seeing that as a positive at the moment, and hopefully that'll tail off again once we start getting older individuals involved. A lot of individuals involved can be quite young, but it's about educating them in regards to that. So even though there's a slight increase there, I'm quite satisfied that we're doing the right things here in regards to the community and make sure they're getting reported what was addressed there. The rubbish tipping and dog filing in action 5, again, sort of local groups over the last few months have not heard much about fly tipping, which is good as well. I have asked the questions a few times. The dog filling, again, I've not heard much, so I need to feed that back to yourselves if you've heard anything about that. I know that's still there, but it's something I've not heard much of, which could be a positive thing in our part. And action 6 was sort of youth safety. I'll give a wee update in regards to that. So over the last 3 or 4 months, there's been a 12% decrease in sort of youth disorder and violence, including with weapons in the area, which is a real positive from last year. Obviously, the summer months are coming up again, so we'll keep that in mind. As well as that, we've done a wee sort of survey to see what age is causing these issues, and it's 13 to 15-year-olds is sort of our main age group. So we're doing a lot to target that age group, whether it be the Friday night projects, getting a wee bit of intel rounds about that, and also going into schools. The sort of fire going into schools, and we're sort of backing onto that to go in and speak to the schools about that sort of disorder. For your own information, we believe a lot of this is due to COVID. I know we're still talking about COVID. However, the kids weren't at school for a long period, so your second years are acting like first years, and that's a sort of knock-on effect a wee bit. So rather than the school getting them whipped into shape, as I would say, and getting them how to be respectful to folk, we're a year, 18 months behind because of COVID. So hopefully over the coming period we'll start seeing that settling down again, because obviously I've had a good period back at school again. I think that was most of the actions there. Oh, sorry, action 7 was the safety concerns raised by local people. Again, I think a lot of disorder in the area has been pretty good over the last few months. I'm not saying it's ideal. Obviously, there are a few serious incidents which will happen in any area, but there's definitely been a decrease in calls and in disorder. It's not away, it's never going to go away, but it's definitely reduced, and we'll keep that up as well. And just one final update for ourselves. I know there's a few issues with speeding around about the areas. With community roads came up and Old Edinburgh Road, the sort of 2 locations that have been brought to my attention a few times. So, for your information, community road, there was a traffic survey carried out there at the start of the year, and it appears that the perceptions actually more than actually the speeding. I think it came out averaged about 28 miles an hour was the average speed. So it's perception that's actually they're going quicker. I'm not saying 28 miles is acceptable on community road because I'm aware of it, but unfortunately that's below the speed limit. So it's something we will target as well with days of action for speed guns. And Old Erma Road is similar as well. We'll get ourselves out there and make sure that we're influencing the flow of traffic for a bit of safety around there. But apart from that, that's all updates unless there's any questions now.
Andy, any questions?
I have a question if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Hi. Basically, it's I'm a Bellshill resident and found something on the street that was lost, and I was trying to hand it into the police station. The opening times of the police station didn't actually suit in terms of like when my lunchtime was. So it was actually really difficult trying to get into the police station at an opening time. Is there anything else you can advise on how to access or report anything that's lost or hand in anything that's lost when the police station in Bellshill is closed?
The only thing I suggest, you could dial 101 and what was the item? If it's an item you could take home, you could possibly take home and ask somebody to come pick it up type of thing, and they'll give you advice that way. Unfortunately, the way we are at the moment, yeah, it is closed at lunchtime. It's not ideal. Obviously, if it's after 6 as well, we're struggling as well at that point. But yeah, if no issues, if it's something you can take home and phone 101 and we'll arrange to get it picked up, or they'll advise you what to do with the item that you have.
That's no problem. I've already handed it in anyway, but it took like about 2 weeks or so to be able to do that.
Yeah, I know it's not. I totally agree. It's not ideal, but we sort of need to work what we've got at the moment.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Does anybody else have any questions? No. We move on to the other Paul then for an update.
Cheers, Chair. Thanks, and thanks to Jim. So just to touch base on what Jim's obviously mentioned, all our obviously updates are available in the Q4 return that's obviously submitted prior to the meeting. So happy to take any questions on that at the end. Just to touch base on what Jim's obviously said with regards to deliberate fire setting with bins. We've been working hard with Police Scotland, obviously doing chains, going out with the community, identifying areas that we need to do a reduction. So we've done well with that. We're then the spring tap, we're moving into the summer tap. So the summer's kind of pivotal for those with regards to kids, obviously in second years on school holidays, and obviously the increase that it has for us with weather and secondary fires. So we are proactively going into secondary schools just now, and high schools, obviously working with Police Scotland, as Jim said, jumping on that to obviously raise with the students the actions that they have with deliberate fires and how that has an impact on ourselves, the community, and obviously resources for ourselves. Just a wee update for ourselves with regards to the community garden at Bellshill. So we're working in partnership with VIP. So the community garden at Bellshill is now open. It's kind of in its initial phases. So that's working with VIP to kind of create a sustainable growing facility for people within the Bellshill community to learn how to grow food, sustainable living, and basically cook the food they're growing. So that's underway at the station at Bellshill to the rear. And just to touch on the end as well. So currently we've got a review for our strategic plan for the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. So every 3 years we do a strategic plan which sets out the future visions. It's very much a say of you obviously have feedback and input to how we direct the fire service. There is a link out on the actual website, and it's also included in the Q4 report for myself. So if you've got any impact or any views on the strategic plan that's been proposed, if you could just go to the link and fill it out and give us some feedback, that'd be much appreciated. But happy to take any questions, Chair, but all the updates are within the Q4 report, obviously prior to this meeting.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? No. Just to say that I've actually received your strategic email for 2 different places, so it's definitely out there.
Can I just come in for 2 seconds? Just with Paul's mentioned the talks, just for yourselves over the summer, water safety is a big thing that the fire get involved in. There's obviously been a few tragic incidents over the last couple of years, so again, we're working with Fire and Rescue in regards to the water safety around Strathclyde Park and other areas, but just for your focus that we are concentrating that, and we're aware that this is something that we have to get out there to the public, and especially to the kids, to remember the safety around waters, just for your information.
Brilliant, thank you very much. If there's no other questions regarding any of the LOIP updates, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is the local development programme, and I think that's yourself, Leanne.
It is, thanks, Chair. I probably won't go into in great detail the report because it's a standard report that's circulated in advance of all the community board meetings, so you can kind of read through that at your leisure. The report obviously kind of talks about the local development programme process, and for Bellshill, the current year that we're in terms of local development programme, the funding that's available for this current financial year is £165,105. The projects listed in the appendices, there are updates provided there. The only one that I would really want to draw to your attention is one that hasn't yet been added into the actual report, but we're still seeking approval tonight. Was a proposal that came from Moss End Primary School via Councillor McNally, who's they're wanting us to have a look at further parking improvements to ease some of the issues that the school and the residents around about are experiencing. We've not yet received a proposal form for that yet, but it should have been on the list for seeking approval, but just to kind of highlight that we would want to seek approval in principle, and then we would seek to look to get the parent council to work with us to submit a form for that. So really just that was the only one that I wanted to highlight. All the updates in terms of the projects that are ongoing at this point in time are listed in the appendix. I'm happy to take any questions or comments. The only other thing that I would say is that we're always encouraging groups to submit proposals to us. We're always looking for ideas, because obviously the local development programme is over a number of years. So even if we can't deliver on ideas this year, we can certainly look at them for future years. So any kind of ideas, just a reminder that it is a capital programme, so it does need to be for a capital project on council land. And just to encourage, just to make contact if you've got an idea or thoughts about something you would like to look at. Kinwa or another member of the team can come out and meet with you and have a look at that. We do generally need to receive a proposal with basic information, but we've got a very basic proposal form now that we can circulate to groups who want to put forward ideas. We can do that quite easily, and support groups to complete that as required. But we do need that proposal form really to kind of, before we can start to do any work around even feasibility or starting to progress to the next stage, because that form gives us very basic information that allows us to look into, is it council land? Is there going to be any kind of major issues that, actually no point in us agreeing to take it to the next stage because we know that it's not going to be feasible. So that was all that I was going to say, Chair, just to encourage groups to continue to discuss with us any proposals that they may have, and I'm happy to take any comments or questions on any specific projects, and I'll try my best to answer, and if I can't, I'll certainly come back to you at a later stage.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Jim, do you have a question?
Yeah, Leanne, just to confirm, Leanne, the Moss End Primary, we've had issues with there before over the last 6 months, and we have looked at it, and it isn't ideal. There's a lot of parking going on there it shouldn't be. Even under the sort of police terms. So it's something we'll keep an eye on, and we'll ask the school possibly to get some letters out over the summer to their parents for a bit more respectful parking, and then hopefully it might assist going into the new term next year.
Thank you. I think I think this is an issue in probably every school in North Lanarkshire. I think Moss End's just a particular location that makes it that kind of probably makes it seem worse to people. I think there obviously has been some investment in parking, and there is the danger that we invest in, just keep investing in parking, that people, it doesn't necessarily resolve the issue, because some of the issue is more about behaviour, people's behaviour, driver behaviour. So I think it's just kind of getting the balance right. But we did say to Councillor McNally that we would certainly we would bring it to the community board and have a discussion and have a think about potential solutions, and that solution may well be additional parking, but it may also, because you're actually limited in space as well there, but it may also be looking at other approaches, like you say, in terms of engaging with the school, engaging with the parents, and trying to encourage a kind of more considerate approach to where and how they park. But happy to have a discussion off table around that, and anything that we could maybe look at doing.
Okay. Leanne, do you need a general consensus tonight as to whether people have got objections to that?
It's really just, are you happy for it to go on the list for some? It's certainly not been approved tonight. I suppose what you'll just notice that on the appendix to the report, one of the appendices is projects for approval. Wait a minute, what's the wording again? Because there's a few. The first part of the appendix is projects under development. No, sorry. Projects under development but we've also got projects seeking approval, and we're not necessarily seeking approval to deliver a project. We're just kind of saying, are you okay for us to kind of look at the proposal forums and do a wee bit of work around that, to look at feasibility? We would certainly be bringing it back to the community board. So we're looking for approval in principle, I suppose, subject to further feasibility work and receipt of an LDP proposal.
I think that's fair enough. Does MD have any comments on that? As someone that stays very close to that school, I have no objections. Thank you very much. Point 8 was the Bellshill Junction, and I think that's back to you, Leanne, but I think Alison had a wee update as well.
Yeah, I'm happy for Alison, probably better placed than myself. I think we've got the same information, so probably better come for Alison.
Thanks, Laura. So there's not a huge amount in terms of an update other than the sort of timetable that Gary Wood shared with the board last time in terms of the work. Things are on track. So he had spoken about progressing to the design stage and has confirmed that there's a meeting around the preliminary designs later this month with the consultant. Board members might remember that at the previous meeting, the plan had been beyond that design stage to engage with Transport Scotland over the summer, with a view that procurement of the works would take place later this year, early 2023. So, and we're still looking at work starting at the earliest in April next year. So there's not any change in that plan today, really just a report that the sort of stages are progressing as Gary had indicated at the last meeting.
Thanks very much, Alison. Does MD have any questions or comments? No. So agenda item number 9 was petitions, but there has been none received. So we can move on to number 10, which is the community concordat. And Sharon, that's yourself.
Okay, I have got a wee update. Obviously, a detail of that was in that paper that was circulated for the Vanel update. So I'm assuming you have all just read that. But really, Vanel's been funded by North Lanarkshire Partnership to create a community concordat in consultation with all the stakeholders involved. It's really just an agreement, and it will set out shared values and approaches to empowering and investing in local communities, support and improve wellbeing, equality and sustainability. And the outcomes for that is anticipated that this community agreement, we'll call it, a lot of folk don't like that concordat word, so I don't know whether it will be getting changed, but maybe no. Will help to improve people's wellbeing, strengthen equality, inclusion and sustainability by improving trust between stakeholders, improving collaboration and tackling key challenges such as the COVID pandemic, poverty, climate emergency support, basically everything that's in the LOIPs really. And it will complement any allowed plans on key issues such as climate emergency, digital inclusion, mental health, wellbeing and tackling poverty. So the paper was circulated. There was a link in there that if folks were looking for more information on that, they could just click on the wee link. There was also a link to a survey in that paper as well, and apparently it finished last Friday, the 10th of June. So the plan is to get the survey results collated, and there's going to be some focus groups organised. I've not got any details on that as yet. With the final drafted concordat launched early 2023. If anybody's wanting further information other than what's been provided in the paper and stuff, they need to contact Ian Johnston at Vanel. He's kind of leading on that. And there's an email for him. It's just nlcommunityconcordat@vanel.co.uk, but I can put that in the chat. I think it's in the paper anyway, but I can put it in the chat. So that's really all I've got to say about it, because it's not really my area of work. So if you've got any pertinent questions, I would pass them to Ian Johnston.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Sharon. So if you have any questions, Sharon, can you stick the email in the chat bar just so that people have got it?
Aye, I'll put that.
Thank you. So that's us moving on to agenda item number 11, which is any other competent business. And Kinwa, I believe you've got something you wanted to bring up?
Few items, Chair. The first one is regarding request from Lin Gao, the project lead from Driving Digital Locality subgroup. As you know, that the subgroups have been actively looking for community volunteers to join with the subgroup, but there has been a gap in the Bellshill area. So Lynn is looking for volunteers from the members of the Bellshill Community Board to join the subgroup. So if anyone is interested can get in contact with myself. They got my email address. The purpose of the subgroup is to maximize the use of digital services for the local communities across North Lanarkshire Council, and it's encouraging active collaboration and engagement within the local communities. The key focus of the subgroup will be looking at public digital skills support, avoiding duplication of services, and support with training in the communities. So very worthwhile piece of work for members to get involved in. So anyone got any interest in getting involved, please get in contact myself. So that's the first item, Chair. I can see a few hands are up, Chair. So
I think Francis was coming in with a point. So Leanne, did you have a question for Kinwa?
It wasn't so much a question, Chair, more just to reinforce. I had put in the chat bar earlier that because digital inclusion was one of the priorities that came out across pretty much all of the community boards in one way, shape or form, there was a kind of agreement, and because digital inclusion and you know, digital driving digital locally is such a big priority across North Lanarkshire, the agreement was that one a driving digital locally subgroup for North Lanarkshire would be established, bringing together representatives from all the community boards to really drive the digital agenda and all of the investment that's taking place across North Lanarkshire around you know, I suppose digital, whether that's about infrastructure, whether it's about skills, whether it's about, so it was just to kind of really reinforce the point that I had kind of made in the chat bar and that Kinwa was making there about how important it is to have a local representative, given that Bellshill have identified digital inclusion as a priority. It's not to say that things won't happen within local communities, but just in terms of being involved and being able to represent the voice of the people from Bellshill on that wider subgroup and being able to then feed back into the local community board, I think it is probably quite important. It doesn't necessarily need to be somebody who's here tonight. It might be somebody else within the community who's got a particular interest or set of skills or experience around digital inclusion, who might want to represent this board and just kind of feed in. But it was just to kind of reinforce that message that Kinwa's made very well there, but just to make the connection into the kind of wider agenda around the LOIPs and the fact that this was a cross-cutting theme and that it's really important that Bellshill maybe looks at having a representative. So we're happy to have a discussion. Kinwa's happy to have a discussion off table.
I'm quite conscious of the fact that we do have quite a lot of people that aren't here tonight. So could that request be emailed out to the full board just so that other people are aware?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kinwa, you said you had 2 points to bring up.
Yeah. Thanks, Chair. The second item is regarding green space participatory budgeting. Green Space PB. The initiative is interested in finding out what projects local communities could think of regarding nature and to recover and thrive, with £50,000 planned to be spent on practical improvements across the council area in 2022 and 23. So the Green Space PB exercise is now live for anyone or local community to submit project suggestions or any ideas. You can submit suggestions until the 10th of July 2022. So the window is quite short, is within the next 25 days or so. But all suggestions must be related to lands that NLC own or lease directly and appropriate for encouraging nature recovery projects. So it's open for suggestions. Any suggestion will go through a voting process by the local community. So the winners of the votes will be considered for projects within the budget of £50,000 spent for the year 2022 to 2023. So I already sent a link and add the information to all the community board members. If anyone got any further questions, they can actually email greenspace@northland.gov.uk, or getting in contact with myself for any further information. Thank you, Chair.
That's great, Kinwa. Thank you very much. Francis, did you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Just wanted to bring up that the Bellshill Consortium have funded the skate park up at Hollytown and social tracks involved there. I'd went up and spoken to quite a few of the children and young people. I was there last night as well, and they asked me to bring up a few issues in the area, but also they want to bring up the fact that they want to get more involved in their local area. So I've already sent the information across, and I've spoken to Gary Stark about it, but basically the children and young people are wanting some improvements done to the park. I was requested to take photographs of the areas as well, so I've already done that and I'll send that on to Gary. But the young people have come up with some really good ideas about how they want to prevent vandalism. They're talking about getting lights put in place, maybe looking at cameras. But obviously, I'd spoken to Kinwa as well, it's going to be short winds just now, but what they wanted me to do was to bring it to hire people who might be able to do something about it. So I'd said that I would bring it to this meeting, but I'm looking forward to working in partnership with the council and taking this work forward. But it's good that children and young people are looking to their local area and want to make an improvement.
Thanks very much, Francis. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? I think
I just comment, sorry to interrupt, just to comment to Francis and just introduce myself as the councillor or one of the councillors for Hollytown and Moss End. So I'm Beth Bowdo, and it's just to sort of please contact me if I can assist in any way. So it was more that.
Thanks very much. Hughie, your hand went up and then disappeared. Do you have anything you wanted to bring in?
Hi, Chair. It's back to what Kinwa was saying, his second point.
Yep.
And he mentioned about £50,000. Would that be for one project, or if there was half a dozen projects, would that money be split between the 6 groups? It's just, I was a bit confused there with a one-off payment of £50,000 for a project, or could you have 5, 6, 7, or 8 projects divided up with the 50,000? If you could explain that, I just couldn't understand it there.
Kinwa?
Yes, Chair. My understanding is £50,000 for the entirety of the for the year 2022 to 2023. So any project would be obviously within be divided up for within the £50,000 budget spent. It will not be £50,000 for one project, because that would be assumed would be quite the cost of that would be quite high. So it would be £50,000 for the entire budget. I can see Leanne's got a hand up, Chair. Thanks.
Thanks, yeah.
Leanne, do you have something you want to add in?
Yeah, I suppose again it was just to reinforce what Kinwa was saying. The kind of the idea of participatory budgeting is normally that you might have projects that are over the amount, and then the communities would decide what projects they would want to support. So that can be done in a number of ways. Can be done through voting, etc. But it generally kind of suggests that there's an invitation for projects to be submitted, and if they go over, then it would be up to the community to be involved in deciding which projects should be supported. But that was all.
Does anybody else have any other business they want to bring up? No, well, that is us finished, because the last agenda item is the date and time of the next meeting. So the next meeting is Thursday, the 8th of September at 6:30. I think that was a very quick meeting. Thank you very much for being patient with me. And I'll see you all in September.
Laura, that's because you were chairing.
I know, I did say to Gary that I like things to be quite sharp.
Especially on a nice sunny night.
I know.
Okay. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
See you later.